So, 2 years ago po, naghahanap ako ng investment na buy and forget lang. After some research, I decided that a mutual fund is the right type of investment for my case. Kaya naman, I opened my computer, logged into my stockbroker account, and put the following mutual funds head-to-head. ALFM, Sun Life, PAMI, and Phil Equity. Ang apat na to ay equity index funds, which means they simply follow the movement of the PSEi or the Philippine Stock Exchange Index or the top 30 companies in the Philippines. Okay, so here's how I ranked them 2 years ago. Gumamit po ako ng 6 criteria. Year to date, 3-year returns, 5-year returns, returns since inception, management fee, and expense ratio. After 6 rounds, ang nanalo po ay Phil Equity Index Fund. That's why I invested 10,000 pesos in this fund. Pinakita ko pa yan dun sa video natin 2 years ago. In fact, I believed in my research strategy so much that I actually added more capital. 3 weeks later, nagdagdag po ako ng 10,000 pesos ulit into this fund. So may 20,000 pesos capital na akong nailagay. As of the recording po of this video, meron akong 4,168 shares or units of XPEIF, and the current value is 19,130.70. That means may loss ako na 869.45 pesos or negative 4.35%. Ngayon, alam ko po yung iniisip nyo.
Lugi naman pala dyan sa stock market na yan, dyan sa mutual funds. Bakit ba ako mag-i-invest dyan?
Kung tama po yung naiisip ko na naiisip nyo, then let me teach you how to upgrade your mindset. Hindi ibig sabihin na negative is talo ka.
Paano masabi?
Well, actually, in this case, talo naman talaga kasi negative. But instead of taking this analysis as is, we need to compare it with the other similar funds. And yes, yung tinutukoy ko po dito ay yung other 3 funds na pinag-usapan natin from 2 years ago. Tama ba na Phil Equity yung binili ko instead na Sun Life or ALFM or PAMI? Pag-usapan natin yan. So, as I've mentioned earlier, binili ko po itong fund 2 years ago, specifically noong October 2021. So, around 2 to 2.5 years na ang nakalipas. Sa totoo lang po, kung nag-a-analyze tayo ng performance ng isang equity index fund, specifically 2 years is too short, masyadong maikli or masyadong mabilis ang time frame na ito to get any meaningful insight from a mutual fund that tracks an index. Hindi naman yan unique sa Pilipinas kasi kahit sa ibang bansa, totoo pa rin yan, maikli pa rin yung 2 years or 2.5 years na time frame. Kagaya ng S&P 500 in the US, Nikkei 225 in Japan, or ASX 200 in Australia. Maikli talaga ang 2 years. Ang dahilan po dito is ang tamang horizon for equity index fund is medium to long term. Sabihin na natin 5, 10, or 20 years, minsan even more. If you need more proof, silipin na lang natin yung 4 equity funds na kino-compare natin. All 4 of them have a high risk rating and long-term ang investment horizon based on their summaries in COL Financial. Wala talaga tayong mapapala sa 2-year period. Kung gusto nyo ng mutual fund with a shorter investment horizon, then maybe you should be looking at money market funds or bond funds. Less risky din ang mga ito, pero of course po, lower reward din na makukuha natin. Mababa yung potential reward compared kung equity index fund ang pag-i-investa natin. With that said, kahit na 2 years pa lang yung time frame, fortunately, with the power of COL Financial historical data, we can still analyze kung angat pa rin ang Phil Equity Index Fund ko compared dun sa other 3. Let's compare year to date, 1-year performance, 3-year performance, and 5-year performance. Okay, so ito po ang performance ng mga index funds na pinagpilian ko 2.5 years ago. To analyze if tama ba ang decision ko noon, let's take a look at each column. For year to date, 4th place si Phil Equity and pinakamataas ang performance ni PAMI. Kung hindi po kayo familiar, year to date means from January 1 this year until today. Sa date kung kailan ko po ito chinek, which is January 18. Now let's take a look at the 1-year performance naman. Phil Equity gets first place for achieving 1.18% gain from January 18, 2023 to January 18, 2024. Next, 3-year performance. All of the 4 funds are negative, pero tingnan niyo po si Phil Equity kasi siya yung may smallest loss. That means first place siya ulit in this column. Finally, 5-year performance or since 2019. Same story sa 3 years kasi si Phil Equity po ulit ang may smallest loss at only negative 2.03%. Kitang-kita naman po natin na with everything else being equal and ang pinag-uusapan lang natin ay equity index funds in COL Financial, tama po ang decision at hindi ako nagsisisi na binili ko itong Phil Equity Index Fund 2 years ago. Also, gusto ko lang pong i-emphasize na yung 5-year performance lang talaga ang may bearing or it's the only thing that matters for me kasi kagaya ng sinabi natin kanina, 2 years, 3 years, hindi masyadong relevant ang time period na yan. However, do you know what matters more than 5-year performance? Let's take a look at the 10-year performance. Instead of October 2021, let's say binili ko po itong index fund at the start of 2014 or exactly 10 years ago. Magkano na kaya ang value nito given the entire period from January 2014 to January 2024? So may good news at may bad news sa analysis na to. The bad news is hindi ko po siya makakompare dun sa other 3 funds na pinag-uusapan natin kanina. Kasi 2 out of the 4 equity funds ay na-establish lang po after 2014. Dalawa dyan, 2015 nagawa, na-create. The good news naman is, since this is an equity index fund that tracks the PSEi, we can use Investagram to check the actual performance of the PSEi from January 2014 to January 2024. So let's do that. As you can see in this chart, the PSEi is simply moving sideways. After the global financial crisis in 2008, may upward trend ang PSEi which started dito po around 2009 and peaked last 2018 at 9,708 level. Then, after that trend was broken and may global crisis ulit at the start of 2020. COVID. Kung nag-invest ako sa Phil Equity Fund na ito during the bull run and I was somehow super lucky and I was able to perfectly time the market and sold during the peak, kumita sana ako ng 350%. But we all know that nobody can time the market consistently, perfectly every time. Kaya naman tanggalin natin ang idea of buying perfectly from the bottom and selling perfectly at the top. Instead, let's take a look at the performance when we just keep holding on to our investment. Kung hinawakan lang natin ang Phil Equity Index Fund na to at hindi tayo nagbenta noong 2018, the performance is not so good. Around 12% gain lang kahit na hinawakan natin to for 10 years. Kung nag-invest ka sa PSEi via an equity fund, which is may management fees na binabawas every year, mas mababa pa po sa 12% ang makukuha mo. Important note is, walang dividends na binibigay sa FMETF or sa equity mutual fund, equity index fund. So capital appreciation lang talaga ang chance mo to get any gains, to get any substantial returns. Imagine holding on to something for 10 years, tapos ito lang, 12% lang ang returns. Mag-i-invest ka pa rin ba? Maybe I'm underestimating the power of compounding in this case. Maybe dapat even longer than 10 years ang investment horizon ko for PSEi. Ang tanong ko po sa inyo, do you still believe na makakabalik tayo sa all-time high level last 2018 and we could see more improvement in the PSE? Depende sa sagot mo dyan kung dapat ka ba mag-invest sa equity index fund or sa FMETF. Alright, that's a wrap. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Bye!